everybody, it's 6 o'clock. We need to start the meeting. We need to call the meeting to
Sounds good.
order. We have Susanna, Pat, myself, and yes, Sally?
We have Sally on my cell phone, so she's here now. I'm gonna resend the directions on how to get in, and maybe she'll come in via the WebEx.
Okay, I'll try that.
But give me a second to send it first. I have to find it. It's here.
Okay.
somewhere and send. Go ahead.
Do
Go
we
ahead
have
with
any
your minutes.
public, present? No, I don't see anybody.
Not that I saw.
Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting, we need a motion to accept them unless anyone has any addition or correction. I don't have a correction or addition. Does anyone else?
No, I'll accept them.
So do we have a motion to accept? Did you say, is that what you said, Pat?
Yes.
I'm forwarding.
We need a second.
Sally.
My watch dinged, so I thought that meant I was.
Second?
Somebody want to accept the second? The minutes?
Well. Okay,
Sally,
I'll
I just
second.
sent it.
Okay.
Second
Okay, was it
motion.
Sally?
Did Sally second?
Sure.
Sally second?
I'm
I
sure
did,
she will.
but
I mean, I think that.
No, it's Susan.
Oh,
Susan.
Sue, you did?
Sue-
I did. I
Okay, slow
seconded.
down. Sue Culver seconded.
Okay.
There we go.
I do
Hopefully she can
not
see
have a
it.
particular report for the president's report, so we'll move to the financial reports. The first one is the expenditure and revenues report for March. Shar, is there anything you need to know?
I can't hear her.
No, I don't think there's anything that I need to point out, really.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the expenditure and revenue report for March? I'll move to accept. Oh, Susanna, okay. I'll second.
Sue?
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
second. Okay, and next
Okay,
we have the abstract of claims dated April 14th to May 11th. Anything particular we need pointed out, Shar?
Not that I think you need. It's about normal stuff. Nothing surprising.
Okay, I'll accept it. Pat.
Okay, good. We have a motion to accept the abstract of claims from April 14th to May 11th.
Yes, did you get me to, I accept it. I make motion to accept it. Pat. We need a
Is that
second.
Pat?
Yes.
Was that
Now we need a
Pat
second.
that said that?
Yes.
It was Pat that
thank
made
you.
the motion.
Okay. And I'll second.
say you, Sue? Sue, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I have a number?
Yes.
For the abstract, yes.
Yes.
It is 8. Oh, sorry. I'll just do the numbers. 86,611 decimal point 25. So 86,611 and 25 cents.
How many cents?
25.
25. Thank you. Thank you.
When you,
Normally I write it down and I didn't write it down.
that's okay. We just did.
Okay. All set, Susanna?
Yes.
Okay. We have a director's report.
Righty. I've gone to some webinars. There was an interesting one. Dennis also went, I noticed in his report, our Storybridge project, which was from Green, New York, but it was a national, there's Sally. I believe it's gone across the country. It's, Green is very tiny. It's in the Adirondacks. It's kind of, you could look it up, but the group or the library started to sponsor these little talks. So people they're near Lake Placid. And so they have a nice collection of, I guess it would be like, I would say, hello, I'm April Bliss. And I grew up in the Holland Patton area and whatever. My family's been here for so long. They're kind of these little stories about the people that live there. And it's been quite successful. Students did it during COVID. And so how they built the database. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I did not go to this Wikipedia for libraries with the collection. So, but I do have a recording of it. So I will go to that eventually. I did have a phone meeting with Julia Marshall about the DPL construction project. I did send an email hoping to get a group of you together. Pat responded and said she could make it to any of the meetings. If you guys are available on May 18th at about 10 o'clock, we could meet then and kind of go through the construction grant. I'll get to the construction grant later.
May 18th?
November 18th. I believe it's going to rain that day, Sue. So I thought you'd be available. I think I looked at the weather forecast.
At what time? At what? May,
Okay.
May.
I talked too fast. May 18th at 10 o'clock, if you're available. There were a few other times.
Excellent. Wait, I'll be there.
Okay. I think I looked at the weather and say, oh, Sue will do that. I looked at the 10-day forecast.
I think that's good for me too.
Awesome. I'll send a little reminder with that and I'll send it to Julia too. All right. So because later on, I'm going to get to construction grant because we have to figure out what it is we're going to do and when. So that's what that meeting's about. We have a whole list of things we're going to do, but how are we going to chunk it up for this year's construction grant?
Is that online or in the library?
It's going to be online.
Okay.
Or a hybrid, but right now it's planned for online and it's only a week away. But I do have things. So if we could do a hybrid if you want. So at the very least, Pat, you can join from home.
Okay.
Is the point of it all. All right. Now we have, the kitchen is getting there. The cabinets are in. I was hoping the countertop would be in, but it's not. So I lied here. And the sink isn't installed, but the electrical is done. So as soon as the countertop comes in, we have the sink, we have everything, it'll happen, but it'll happen. I met with Julia Roberts after our last board meeting and I know her. She owns the tent gallery. I went to high school with her and I said, so I want to buy a tent. We're going to do this and I'm going to pick your brain because you're a tent professional. And by the time I was done talking to her, she said, I support whatever you want to do. These are just what you need to do if you're going to do your own tent. You have to get your own insurance. You have to get like this marine rider because I don't know why it's called that. If you store it, it has to be completely dry or it'll mold. She told me all these things. And pretty soon I said, well, why don't you send me a quote for an extended rental? So it, it goes down because they don't have to come set it up all the time. They cover the insurance and all of that. So we had a tent installed in the parking lot today. It was supposed to come tomorrow, but it's there and it's there through mid-September. And it's basically it's the top. We didn't get the sides because if we did the sides, it would end up just being another room because the free air wouldn't blow. So we haven't played with it at all yet because it literally just arrived and was finished about noon today. But I'm looking forward to it. And we're looking forward to things like messy kid art. And if it's a little drizzly, it's fine. We'll have a roof over our head. So I'm excited about our outdoor community room. Let's
Well,
see.
where is it?
Oh, where is it? It's in the new parking lot, close to the building.
Okay,
Okay, so it's if you go to, you know, where the curbside pickup is,
Right.
it's that, well, you know, the new parking lot.
Right.
All right. And then Jamie and I discussed the backyard garden. It's a little sad. I mean, it's fine, but it needs plants. And so she's reached out to Cornell Cooperative Extension. There's a master gardener who's going to help us with a butterfly garden. So we don't have his plans yet. He wants to do native plants, and it's hard to find native plants. So anyway, it's a process that's been started. I'm excited. Kim Rodwell did her first story time on April 26th. And even like 2 days, what was it? It's already Tuesday. So Monday, I saw her story time and she had a TV. I thought, wow, what's that? What's she doing? And I asked her today, and she was one book short. So let me back up. Her story time consists of her having a book. And then there's 4 like picnic mats. So we call them germ bubbles. So there's 4 families or units, and they're 6 feet apart. And they each get a stack of the same books. So they can look through them because we're spread out so far. It would be awkward to try to all look at the same book. And she was a book short, and she found it on Libby, and she brought it up on the TV. And so it was an ebook of the picture book. So it was big, and she was able to flip pages with her phone. I said, this is so
oh, that's nice.
anyway, very fun story. And she promoted Libby. So parents can go home and do that, right? All right. Shar and I met regarding the capital project and professional fees and how we were going to, you know, the capital project is X amount of money. And then there's professional fees, which have to do with construction grant. And so we just pretty much figured out how we were going to put it in ledgers. And so, if you have questions about that, we can answer it. But basically, it's not our operating budget. These are more a capital project idea. There's certain things that make sense. Okay, we do our audit each year, and that's our books. And we audit our books, and that has to do with just doing business as a library. Whereas if we have an architect come in, that's not our everyday operating. So we want to record that as a capital project. So that was really all. We just kind of tried to figure that out. And also other things that when we get an invoice, we're going to try to flag it early so that then we don't go back through. Like, for example, there's a few things we paid, and there's checks that will be signed. And I should make a copy of that tomorrow, not say, oh, Shar, I want to close out this construction grant. Can you go back to last year and pull that for me? You know, just to try to do it better. So that's what that meeting was about. Then there was the construction grant meeting with Mid-York. What's it look like? It is 34 million. And last time it was that big, Mid-York got close to $1 million to spend, which we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with it as far as who's going to put in a project. We are seriously ready to put in a big project if there's money. But that's why it's when we have that meeting on the 18th, we have it broken down in little increments so that if there's more money, we'd be ready to do another piece of the project. So we're, how can I say it? Well, anyway, we're ready. We're ready to make sure there's no money left on the table. And let's see another one. You know, I plug these in and they kind of make sense to me what our goals are and which one fits where. This is basically the lifelong learning. Kim and I do the bring your own book book club. And so I'm continuing that with her. And sometimes she's there. Most of the time we're both there. But if we have, it's nice to be a co-facilitator in case you have obligations. And then Oh, making learning visible in maker education, which wasn't really anything new. It was just remembering that some people are constructive learners, and by building, they learn more. So it's just one of those learning styles that a makerspace is nice. And we don't think of that in libraries as much, but it kind of gave me some ideas on, we're renovating, and, if we make a makerspace, what are we going to do? So it was kind of neat. Oh, and this was nice. Aiden Hawks was our most recent Eagle Scout, and he did the planter benches. So there's a planter, then a bench, a planter, then a bench. Let me see, 2 benches, 3 planters. He did 2 of them for the library. That was his Eagle Scout project. Well, there was more. He had to, coordinate people and all that stuff. But New York Sash does a TV show apparently, and they asked to interview him at the Boy Scout office, and they invited me. Aiden's dad reached out to me and told me, and so I also went. So I think they might notify me when that's actually going to be on TV, so we'll see. But it was nice that they recognized his accomplishment. And Literacy Coalition, that got moved. So that's going to be later in the month. Then we are having virtual directors meetings. Mark set up that meeting for us. We're using WebEx to meet whenever there isn't an official Mid-York director meeting. We got used to doing it every week because it was like a support group, oh my goodness. Okay, now this has changed because of COVID. This has changed because of COVID. What are you doing, And so we meet for about an hour and a half a week, and it's been very productive. We're continuing on and using our platform. So I was very happy about that. We've had some virtual Rotary meetings throughout the pandemic, but we actually had our first in-person meeting on May 6th. So we decided to do a fundraiser for the Utica Food Pantry or Food Bank. And we had quite a collection. Steve Karabowski and someone took our picture, and then we're going to do that. So the library wrote a press release, Dennis being the library wrote a press release. So quite a few donations came to us. They had boxes that they took out. It was really nice. And they were collecting in other places, but we're just so easy to get to. People are coming anyway. We've got a nice parking lot. So we should be, I don't even know. They'll weigh it. So they'll know how many pounds that we collected. But there was a lot there. I was surprised. Oh, and I did go to the Greater Utica Chamber meeting. It was interesting. You always like to, be there because some of the powers that be are there. And it's nice to be at the table, and how they are giving bonuses out at the casino for anybody in housekeeping and working in the kitchen, because they want to get people. The Chamber of Commerce actually nationally is saying we're having difficulty getting workers. And also Water Safari said, yeah, chlorine's not our problem. We just need people to come work. So the pandemic has kind of changed things for them. So hopefully that we can connect workers to employers in this climate. But that was, I did go to something actually today, and I would like to make that part of the construction grant too, which doesn't have to do with what like Julia from Holmes King and Architects is doing. But there's NYSERDA incentives, and then there's incentives through our utility provider. So there is no expense to us pretty much for quite some time. And we would then provide charging stations for the public. So I'd like to look into what that means and how much. I haven't talked to, so that was a NYSERDA presentation and a presentation by someone down in Westchester, but she said actually all utility providers in New York State have the same incentives. So we heard her spiel, but National Grid would have a different one. So they're trying to do that. It's been difficult for me. I've wanted to do this for a couple of years, but because it's self-serving, I have an electric car. I don't want it to look like it's not appropriate, right? But I know that they have a charging station in Herkimer at their library. Oneida just put one in, so it's kind of, they'd like libraries to put them in, and it's part of New York State construction grant. So everybody's throwing money at us to try to make charging stations available to the public. So I'm looking into that, and I did go to that today. So that concludes the director's report portion of our meeting today. Any questions?
Okay.
I have a
No.
question.
Is
What
there
kind of charging
old business?
station?
Well, Susanna has a question right now. What kind of a charging station? So what it does, like if I go to like Chili's and they have a charging station there, there's an app on my phone and I just say, actually my daughter does it, I have to say, and she'll just ask if it's, or she I don't know what she does exactly. I think it's a scan. So you scan your phone and it just unlocks the machine. And then you plug your car in, because I have a
So it is an automobile charging station.
correct. Yes, I'm sorry. That would have been helpful, right? If I told you that. And so I have a car that runs on electricity or gasoline. So I can go like 26, 27 miles, whatever that is, depending on the time of year. It's like if you use your heater or your conditioner, it cuts it down. So I charge at home and I get back and I still have like a mile left. So unless I run errands around Utica, go to the bank or do something like that, I don't use gasoline. So I could charge at the library. So I feel a little, it's like plugging in your computer. It's not expensive. Like my electric bill didn't have a noticeable increase. You know what I mean?
The library would foot the bill for the electricity. Okay.
Not always, because there is a way that, you know how like Venmo works or something? I think that you can put money on the card per se, and then it knows who you are, and most of them are free. Like the one at Oneida, I believe, is free. Most of the time they're free because it's not a big draw. If somebody comes in and plugs their computer in the library, we don't say, oh,
Right.
we need your 17.5 cents here. You know,
Right.
it's one of those things. It's just a service that we pay for. And
Mhm.
my husband would tell you if our
So
electric bill went up.
Who pays for the installation?
Yeah,
Well, there's a grant through NYSERDA.
Okay,
New York State construction
I
grant
thought
also
that you said at
allows
the
it.
beginning, but I couldn't hear.
Right. It would cost nothing unless we did something really crazy, because our utility or our service entrance is relatively close to, say, where the awning is, right by the maintenance store. I think we could probably put
Right.
something in. So it wouldn't cost, the setup of the whole thing would not cost. In theory,
Okay,
the electricity would cost, but we would have all that set up by 3 different organizations are willing to fund. NYSERDA, our utility company, and New York State construction grant. All 3 of them have pots of money that we could dip into. So that would not be an initial investment for us. But we don't have to decide that in this meeting. But I went to that meeting and I think it's a good idea is all. And I
think it's a good idea if
a
it doesn't
lot of
cost us
electric cars are coming.
anything other than the
Pardon me?
electricity, you know. I mean, if it doesn't cost anything for the installation, it's a good idea.
Yes. And I can look
But it
into,
would
I
be
know in
hard
the
to fit that
beginning, when I
into the
looked,
goal of the library. What?
I think Pat said something. I know that
Oh,
a
I
couple of years ago, when I looked into it, you needed a credit card. And it was a pain because it would have been like, okay, there's a credit card charge, and it was going to cost us more money to charge people than it would have cost us to let them plug in for nothing. But now I think that this was probably 4 years ago when I was looking into it the first time, and I think they've settled most of that stuff. But I'll get more information. Okay, so we're not deciding anything, so don't like stress about anything.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Are you going to put something in the director's report about this, or would you like me to make a note someplace else?
You know what? It's on the new director's report. I
Okay.
edited today and I said I went to the Con Edison and NYSERDA EV charging station incentive program. So it was an
Okay.
FYI. And if we do something, it'll be part of the construction grant. So we'll vote on something when it's, you know, if we're going to make a
Right.
move. So you don't have to do anything. I think that was just FYI.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I guess now
Anything
we're on
else,
new business.
April, for director's report?
No.
All set? Do we have
Yes.
old business? No?
No.
Do we have a new business? We have the construction grant.
Yes. And we don't have to have anything to Katie formally until we have an intent to apply form by July 9th. So I think I wanted to make sure we scheduled the meeting, which we did for the 18th. So that's Pat, Sally, Susanna. I'm not sure. Are you able to join us? If you are, if you're not, we'll fill
Yes.
people in. And then
I
Sue.
think I will be able to, yes.
Awesome. And we'll talk about what it looks like. And I think like a few contingency plans, like if it's a 50% match, we'll do X. If it's a 75% match, we'll do this. You know what I mean? And then in the event, so like kind of A, B, C. And so if there's more money, then we'll add this. It'll be just understood. So we don't have to worry about it. So that's really all I have for now.
April,
Yes.
April, will you give us some way to get into that meeting when it comes on the 18th? How do it? You'll
I
send me
will
an email,
send you
right?
an email tomorrow with the web address, you know, the same thing like this.
Right.
I'll send you.
Okay.
Thank you. Email, you got, or maybe Thursday, because Mark works on Thursday.
Okay.
He'll set it up, so we'll get it out soon. Or I'll send an email with some details, and maybe I'll make a meeting. He did make me an admin.
Okay.
April, what time did you say the meeting was on the 18th?
10 o'clock. How's that sound?
10.
10?
Thank you.
All right. And so I think that's it for now, just that we're going to have the meeting, and then we'll have a committee report for June.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Now there's a policy update that I really thought I printed. And I
A
don't see it.
policy update? Where?
I did send it to you today. It has to do with,
I saw,
paid time off for part-time.
right, I saw it. I read
You
it.
saw it. I love it. I saw it too. And I thought I printed it, but maybe I didn't.
Yes,
But
because I read it.
okay. So what happened was, wow, a long time ago, Sue, remember we got a note from one of our part-time staff saying we don't get raises. And then I said, well, yes, you do, because we technically don't have to pay minimum wage, which would be a scandal, but we could pay people $7.50 an hour, and that would be legal, or $7.25. I think it might be $7.50. Either way, we pay New York State minimum wage that all people have to pay. As a municipality or government, we don't have to follow the rules. Everyone else has to. But we wouldn't get quality employees. So we think that's the right thing to do. And we always have. As minimum wage increased, so did people's part-time salary. Okay. And you've seen it along the way. But we didn't address longevity very well because the increase was so much each year. It was 70 cents or Sue's having trouble. Sue, if you can hear me, you could stop the video and it might help. It's the only thing I can think of. Okay. So
It's okay.
Char
It's
and
okay.
I talked a good half hour. Actually, we've talked multiple times for a period of time. There you go. You're fine. And then I think your signal will be stronger. And a light bulb went off in Char's head. Mine was still pretty dim towards the end of our conversation. And do you want to take over, Char? Maybe you can explain it better.
I could, yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of came up with the idea that for every 5 years that the part-time employee works with the library, that we will give them 1 year or 1 week of their time at their 5-year anniversary. So right now, part-timers can accrue up to 2 weeks of however many hours they work in a week. And this will give them a 3rd week that they don't have to accrue. They're just given to work. And then again, on their 10-year anniversary, they would get another week. So they would kind of be the same as full-time, where we have the ability to get 4 weeks of vacation. They can get the same.
It's very confusing. It's easier if you read the document, but it's not that they get a full-time week off. If they work 12 hours in a week, they get 12 hours off.
Right.
If they work 17 and a half hours in a week, they get 17 and a half hours off. So it's not a lot. It's kind of like getting a certificate. It doesn't amount to very much money or very much time off, but it's an acknowledgement of the fact that, you know, you've worked for us for 10 years and you actually are making more money than the person who started, you know, 8 months ago. That's kind of it. I mean, it's difficult with part-time to acknowledge longevity in a way that won't drive Char crazy trying to figure it out.
So all
So-
part-time people get different amount of money, right? They all don't start the same amount, part-time?
Well, they
So-
long ago, people would start at minimum wage, right? And then the next year they would get a little more. But because minimum wage was going up 70 cents a year, everybody started to become all in the same pot, you know, because it was so much change.
Mhm.
That's how it happened. So in a way, this will help to differentiate that person who's worked for a year versus the person who's worked for 9 years.
But what about the amount of time they work? Like, you have a part-time person who works a lot more than another part-time person, right?
Correct. So let's go do the example of, say, someone works 12 hours a week. They earn paid time off for every 26 hours they work. Oh, we'll go with somebody working 13 hours, right? So if they work
right.
13 hours, in 2 weeks' time, they'll work 26 hours. Then they earn 1 hour PTO.
Okay.
And it was kind of set up the way Target did theirs. Kim had worked there and she said, well, PTO. So that's another thing. It's similar. The PTO is something that all other groups besides government do, but we do it too. And we do it a little bit more. It's why 26? What was that about, Char? That
26, because it works out week wise. It calculations worked out.
Okay.
And it was something we based it on.
It was a
think we
formula. I
looked
think
at-
that,
we looked at other businesses that were similar in what they used.
okay. Because I think 25 is the minimum. There is a minimum of something, and we were just above it. Not a lot, but we were a little bit above the minimum.
You're talking about the new New York State paid sick leave that we are
Okay.
not required to do, but this does the same thing, and actually they earn it faster than that one.
Right, but not much. And the formula worked with, it was just easy for us to formulate that particular number, and it was in line with a lot of others. So we picked after you work 26 hours, you accumulate one. And for part-time, that's their sick time, that's their personal time, that's their vacation time, it's paid time off. So it's whatever you need it for, which we're kind of, with New York State, we as full-time employees can't really switch to that system, but it's pretty common. My daughter's a nurse. She gets PTO. She doesn't get vacation, sick,
So this
whatever.
is a
She gets
policy
PTO.
change? This is a
Yes.
policy change.
It's slight,
It's-
but I mean, it is a policy
Do we
change. And there's also,
Can we see it?
we
Can we see it in print before we vote on it?
did send it to you.
I
Did
got it.
I
got it.
sent it this afternoon. It was
I have
the
it
most
in front of
recent
me,
one
too.
I sent.
All right. I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
I
Yes,
should bring
we
it
got
up too, then I could see it.
Okay,
So
so it's all set.
There's-
As long as you sent it, that's fine.
Right.
I did, and there's a clarification on what professional staff is. And so we, rather than say professional staff and have it be vague, we wrote librarian and library assistant there.
Right.
So that was kind of cleaning things up.
So do you want
You could-
us to vote on this now? Is
If
that,
you would,
Yes,
Pam?
yes, we have
is
to.
that, can you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, we could wait, but we could
No,
put it into
I-
play now if you do it.
I think we can do it, don't
I-
you, Pat?
I think we
Susanna, what do
should.
you think?
Yes, I think we should.
Yes, that's okay with me. I'm okay with it.
Yes. I think
Okay.
so.
Move that we
All right,
vote.
so. Yeah, do we
You
have
Right,
want
a
I'll make the
motion
Do we
motion. I'll
to,
make-
accept the policy change?
pardon,
I'll make the motion to accept the, what would you call this? It's not an addition, it's
a policy
Yes, it
change?
I was gonna say, the
Policy
term that we
change
used
for
was.
the-
Do you want the wording? We used part-time
Yeah.
Let's just call it a
longevity
policy
incentive.
update.
Okay.
yeah, part-time.
It could just be policy change as attached,
Yeah,
you
Okay,
know.
all right. For part-time workers.
okay, do we have a motion?
Yes, I made that motion.
Pat, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is that it, April? Do we have a communication, right?
I have some communications. So I don't know the difference between announcements and communications sometimes. So I had communications or I'll announce that I sent something to Senator Griffo and Assemblywoman Buttonshone about bullet aid. So because we put the tents in the, well, actually, let me see. I should back up a little bit. CLRC had a grant that you could write that had anything to do with COVID and why you would have made those expenditures. And I asked for the tent that we are using for the community room to be possibly reimbursed. And then the bullet aid, I said, I asked for help with the proposed construction grant and just kind of, I mean, if we do, eventually we will do it. There's a focus on Dunham House with that construction grant a little bit. It was kind of advised that we do that first, and it does seem to be the natural thing. So I made mention of that. We were going to do it. And also and it was a form letter kind of thing. So say, do this, put, and it would be a good idea if you mention an event that you can invite them to. And I went, oh, you know what's happening on October 28th, we're going to be 95 years old, the library. And so I thought maybe we could, do a bit of an open house or something with that, or at least invite them for a tour. We don't necessarily have to do a big shindig, but we may do something to highlight the fact that we are 95. So I put that in there. Also, that was a thank you note that I actually wrote on the agenda, because things I could have put on there. But the thank you note from, I guess, Raymer family, I didn't bring it with me, but they love the library and were wonderful people, was the gist of it. And today, after Shar left, so it was later in the afternoon, Mary Fernandez, it was a patron of ours, and she was 88. She died on May 5th. And in her obituary, it mentions that they would like donations to go to Dunham Public Library. So we've already had a few calls on how to donate, and we're looking on putting the PayPal button back on the library webpage and things of that nature. But it was lovely. Just a quote from here. I thought to myself, if somebody said this about me, she will be remembered by all for her tremendous patience, exquisite ability to never pass judgment, and listen to everyone with sincere interest, concern, and open-heartedness. Wow.
Nice.
It's the ultimate compliment, right?
Yeah.
I don't resemble that as much as I wish I did. So anyway, she was a lovely lady. Many staff knew her. And so donations have been at least discussed via email or on the phone from some people in the community. So I'm
April.
appreciative.
April.
Yes.
Now, with a budget vote, don't we usually have a meeting or a public?
This is our public, so people it's part of the message on the webpage. So
I remember having very, very intense meetings.
We also have documents at the library. So we have a visual of we call it an infographic, which I've given you in the past.
Right.
And it's on our webpage too, in the parts to do with a budget vote. If you actually click on it, it will click and show you what our budget proposal is. So that's on there. You guys had that a while back. It's the, and you approved that. So that document is on our webpage, and the infographic is on the webpage. Okay. And I have those two printed out at the information desk with my card, and no one has called about it. So apparently no one has questions.
Okay.
You must be doing well enough that people aren't nervous. So yay.
And I did post
right.
Okay, April, can I pick up a
information about the
minute?
write-in.
Yes, go ahead, Susanna.
When you said you approached, who did you approach? Button Jones and who? Griffo?
Oh, and Griffo, right? Button Jones, Assemblywoman, and Senator Griffo.
Okay, and where's the money coming that you're?
It's called, there's two words for it. We call it bullet aid. So it's like a bullet from a gun and aid.
Okay.
I could send you a copy of the letter, but it's not that important for it's called.
I just wanted to make a note on the minutes, and it was. And I wanted
bullet
to
aid to support libraries and library services.
Okay. All right. That's all. I just wanted to make sure my note was accurate.
Very nice. Okay,
Now,
and there are checks to be signed.
Okay.
So I don't know Sue Culver's coming in to sign those. And Susanna, you always send the abstract via email. So
Yep.
that's very efficient.
Do we have anyone who's up for a board member?
Okay, sorry. I sent an email a while back.
Right, I saw
Did
that.
everyone get it about Pam Donovan? Okay, so that's a good thing. Thank you for bringing that up. So if Pam is a library patron, she was, I think it's called the speech pathologist, Sue, is that what you call it? Someone who helps people, say their R's and whatnot. I
Right,
think that's,
right.
not a therapist, but pathologist. So she worked at Holland Patton for her, I believe, her whole career. And she has 2 daughters that went through Whitesboro School. And she and her husband live on Cortland Lane, which is near
Right near me.
you, Pat. And so she's part of Janae's book group. She's, again, a library user. She sits on her church board, and she's been a secretary on the church board, so she understands minutes. We had a nice discussion.
But is she on the ballot?
She is not on the ballot because she didn't really get talked into it until after the fact. So
Okay.
she will have to be a write-in.
All
So
right.
if you guys are willing, I don't really know
posted it
ethically what
on-
you're supposed to do.
I posted the information on the Hertham Heights group Facebook page, and that's a couple hundred people.
Well, how
So,
do you write it? Do we write it in?
hopefully
Or
they
is it-
will write in. her name.
You as the voter, so when you go to vote, I can't say for or against. When you go to vote, you can, because it's vacant and there is no candidate. So we will probably get write-in such as, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. So hopefully there'll be enough write-ins for
Yes,
Pam,
well, the
or
information
if
that
there's
I
somebody else
posted
out
should
there.
get to enough people that some people will write her name in.
Right.
Do
And
we
she's interested. So I don't think she thought about it ahead of time. So
I just want to know if I would have to, do I have to write her name in when I go vote?
you do.
Or is it somebody else?
If you don't write her name in, then, basically you're not voting for anyone. So it does say vacant. And if we have enough people that know, say, library staff, we can kind of just word of mouth I don't know if I'm supposed to, I don't think I'm supposed to promote anything. It's very confusing.
Well, I know, but me as a voter, yeah. If I go
You as
to-
a voter can vote in Pam Donovan if you would like to, and she would be interested in serving as a trustee.
So I can write her name in then.
Yes,
Okay.
but I'm not telling you to.
No, I know, but
I'm saying you can.
I have to, now when is the vote anyway? I forgot.
I believe it's the 18th.
Oh, the 18th. It has to be that's the same day.
Or do you know?
The vote is the 18th.
It is. It's on our
It is
website.
the
too.
18th.
18.
Okay.
All right.
If you go on the 18th, you can.
There's also going to be a food truck thing there at the junior high, just to watch out for. There might be
There's
some
gonna
more
be a what?
traffic. Food truck or a food fair, the fair food. They're going to have that over
Oh.
at the junior high the same night.
Oh,
that makes sense.
We vote in the 6th grade. That's where the voting is.
Yes. So
what?
the vote is at Parkway.
Parkway.
And the food trucks
Yeah.
will be set up probably in a semicircle or something at the
Okay.
middle school or 7-8
But
building.
is
Yes.
It's a
that
fair
for-
food.
Is that for
Food
some
trucks.
reason, the food truck?
It's for the raising money for the 2023 class, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's for the school.
All right.
Yeah, it's probably that grade level. No, it's a high school grade level. Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Well, good job.
we all
Bro.
set? No executive
I think
session,
we are set. We've
I
agreed
don't
to pay
assume.
the bills and have another meeting.
right?
And
And we're having Confidata on the 15th, right? Confidata
yes,
What?
they're 9
will
to
be at
12,
library
I
on the
think.
15th.
Yes.
What is that?
You can go shred your personal, like bank statements and those kinds of things.
On the
It's not a
15th.
recycle, it's a shred.
Oh,
And they're
okay.
gonna be set up in our tent.
Oh,
outside.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I don't have to do that. I have my own shredder.
Library has one too, if you ever need to.
I have a
Okay,
fire
so we're all set, right?
pit, but I think
There you go.
congregate is better
We
than.
are all set.
the
I would
fire
say
pit.
you could do a motion to
Oh, Sue,
adjourn.
Sue, do you need some wood?
We should adjourn first.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody? Everybody
Meeting
seconds
is
that one, I'm sure.
adjourned.
Okay,
All right, Sue,
Next
do you
meeting,
need?
next meeting is June 8th.
correct.
Probably. Did I write it on there? Oh, I did. Look at me. We could probably start a hybrid meeting if you want to. You know what? I don't know. Right now, open meeting law has been suspended. I don't know if you want to just keep going like this until they make us go in, or either way, we're going to be looking at ourselves on a computer screen, I think. Those of us who go in are going to have to wear a mask. So that's a consideration. If you don't, I don't know how clear, it's hard. And we talk all day long with our masks on at work, but
Yeah.
it is you can't see people's lips move,
Well,
Want to
Well-
just leave it up in the air or?
That's fine. We
This
can
is not
meet like
ideal.
this until they make us go in.
yeah, I think we should meet like this too. It's hard for me to get there.
And if you decide personally, you say, April, I really want to go in. And can we just meet with the rest of them on the, Hollywood Squares on the TV in the community room? That I'm open to that. So this is easier for me, but I am, eventually, it's not that I can't do that. I can, but we would be talking to the group with masks on from the community room if that's what we did. So
Why don't we just
We
keep
will-
it why don't we just keep it like this until we can get the all clear?
sounds good. Okay, so we will meet virtually unless we can't.
Okay.
Sounds
There
good.
you go. All right. Thank
Okay.
you all.
Okay, Sue, I want to ask Sue, do you need any wood
night,
for your
all.
fire pit?
I
Does anyone need
Night.
any wood? Because we cut down trees. What?
You cut down trees. What kind of trees do you have, Pat?
I have like 50 some odd trees on my property. Plus I'm next,
The ones that are on the ground.